would be a scam. Because if you don't think they're just going to give you, let's say a round number will be $1 million per person. Do you think they're going to give that to you? No questions asked. Do you think they're going to go door to door and hand out $1 million check to every black person in the country? No, there would be strings attached. They would more than likely say, look, we will give you reparations, but we're going to have a national referendum among African Americans, and you'll have to agree that we get rid of every single law on the books that deals with African Americans, that deals with civil rights, that deals with our community. So every police reform law, every civil rights law, every voting rights law, etc., we would have to agree to repeal those in order to get our $1 million check. And you know good and damn well our people will take that $1 million check and won't even read the fine print. They will break down the doors to go sign away all their rights to get that check. Then you also have to think about it. Well, they've been pushing recently with the whole the COINTELPRO organization, FBA, the Foundational Black Americans, and ADOS. They've been pushing this separation between American blacks and foreign-born blacks. You see all these videos of them talking about how, well, you know, them other blacks are trying to come over here and steal our reparations that we ain't got. And some people can't figure out that that's clearly a government psyop that they're using to separate black people. It's silly. But what happens when they start asking those questions of, well, now that y'all signed away your rights, we have to figure out exactly how much of a slave you are. So we're going to need DNA samples from all of you. Every single one of you. We need a DNA sample that we'll send to Palantir, and then we will determine how much slave ancestry you have, and we will give you a percentage of that $1 million based upon the percentage of your ancestry that was enslaved here in America. And then you come to find out, like, well, because my great-great auntie got raped by a white man, I'm only actually 50% slave DNA, and then that got diluted a few times. I'm actually only about 20% slave. And so instead of getting $1 million, now you got $200,000 for signing away literally all of your rights. So now the community, let's say everybody got their $1 million checks. What they've done over the course of the past 50 years is destroy what we called the quote-unquote black community. It's very hard to find black people to spend your money with now. It's hard to find black-owned stores. It's hard to find black-owned farms. It's hard to find many black institutions. So in sum, you will get that reparations check and will be a subsidy for white America. Because even if you were being responsible, what's the first thing you're going to do? Pay off your house. Who owns your house? White people. Second thing you're going to do, pay off your car. Who owns the loan on your car? Also white people. You say, well, I'm going to put the money in the bank. A black-owned bank? There ain't that many left. Remember, after the financial crisis, most of them went under. So they're going to put your money in a white bank. Then you're going to go invest that money, probably with a white brokerage firm, into the white stock market, etc. So when you're looking at these things, you've really figured out that essentially, we used to talk about how that money would stay in the black community, 6 hours before it made its way out. It might not make it to till lunch before people have spent most of it. A couple of Gucci belts, a Hellcat, a couple trips to Turks and Caicos, etc. And then the funny thing is you end up taking that same reparations money and give it to the same Caribbean black people that you didn't like because now you're in Punta Cana or you're in Negril jumping off the cliffs and stuff. Because that's what folks are going to use a big portion of that money, because reparations without a plan is just giving it directly back to the people you just got the reparations from. So essentially you would have sold off all of your rights. You create a situation where now the community is actually seeing a reverse suction effect of economic ability leaving the community. Because some of us will, of course, invest it and build, etc. Most people are going to buy some Gucci belts and a Hellcat. Just being realistic. So what would actually be the point? This would be the same thing as with you when grandmama dies and leaves her house to the family. And she's been working and building and creating her whole life for this house and this property. And the first thing everybody does is sell it, take that money, and blow it. and you can't find a trace of it within 2 or 3 years after they pass away. That's what would happen. This is why I say it's such a scam. I don't understand why they haven't just given it to you already. Because reparations were always supposed to be paired with nationalism. Read Garvey. Garvey ain't never said nothing about get a check and then sit up under the people who just gave you the check. Look, Booker T. He talked about reinvesting, applying the land, creating independence, the ability to self-sustain in our own nation. There's no allegory in human history where a group has been enslaved, achieved freedom, taken a check, and just hung out with the people who used to enslave them. The reason that Hitler called the Jewish people an inferior race is because they never nationalized. It's written in Mein Kampf. They believe that any group that respects itself would at some point organize and nationalize. The Czechs created Czechoslovakia. The Poles created Poland. The Deutsch created Deutschland. The Franks created France. The Britons created Great Britain. You nationalize when you're a people. So you have self-control, self-determination. You can build your own institutions. And so when you start looking at the historical legacy and the things that we are actually fighting for, the destination was never civil rights. The destination was never a couple of executive orders. People weren't getting their head beat in Selma for a couple of executive orders. People weren't getting lynched in Mississippi so that we could have a voting rights act. They were doing that for a nation, for freedom, for independence. When Malcolm said, House Negro versus Field Negro, what do you think he was talking about? And we're going to play an excerpt from the speech. He's talking about running away, breaking free, not being in the house. But it's a conversation that they've erased from history. Because everyone who moved in that direction, mysteriously from the government, either ended up dead or in jail. The reason we have political prisoners now, who had to live in exile for generations and die overseas, because they were working towards the black nation. And they made you believe that those people were radicals, and they built statues and holidays for the people who told you to stay. So we're going to have this conversation at the break. Do you think reparations would be a scam? And should we be working towards nationalism? Call in. We'll be back after the break. Call in 404-726-1380. Get involved in the conversation. News and Talk 1380 WAOK.